Let me give you an overview of our customized design number one. It's going to be 2 weeks. Right now we're in week number 9. And next week we will continue this with further work. So we're doing part of your customized design number one. And this week we're going to focus on the first part of a typical design, which is called the design review process. Many people think that that happens at the end, but in my experience in industry, it's kind of a mishmash, and it kind of sort of consistently happens. So our goals for this week are to perform the first steps of a common design process. There will be modeling, there will be research, there will be a lot of different parts to it. We'll research some design requirements and some existing designs that may influence your own design. The more you know ahead of time, the better. We'll review existing products against what are called design review criteria. More about that later. You'll get a chance to create a concept mass model. This one is a very rough model, and it's really just there so that you can point at it and tell people what's on your mind that you are going to design in more detail later. And we'll perform some initial design review functions that can focus your design ideas further for next week. So let's see how that looks. I'm going to go to the last slide here. It's not really an activity, but I think it's worth having on here so that you can see what it is. And this is what I call the design squiggle. And somebody has put some things in there that says, there's a lot of preparation, and there's some discovery about the project and about the design, and there's some definition, and there's some ideas, and you have to validate those ideas. Now look, the more product knowledge you have and knowledge of the application, the faster and easier this part is, because you've already got it locked in on your brain. But sometimes there are outside sources that need to get brought up to speed. Sometimes you might not know anything about what's going on and have to learn it all very quickly. And sometimes there's some competing requirements that you have to learn about. So this can be very fast if you're really already knowledgeable and you have everything down. You just bang, you go right into implement and deliver. It can be very, very quick. But we're going to take the approach that you know nothing about the product, you know nothing about the project, which is kind of like entry-level work, and you're going to have to go through some steps. Now, these are nice little definitions. It doesn't really work nicely, and they sort of try to get that to show that these are just spread all over the place. Okay, so you don't go from here to here to here to here. You can see it just goes squiggling all over the place. But these are some things that you have to do. So these things: prepare, discover, define, ideate, validate. Those are loosely corresponding to our activities this week, which are to research a proposal, research existing designs that might be applicable to meeting that proposal, presenting those things that you saw in a way that we can really look at them closely and do what's called a design review, where we can assess how well they work. And in doing that, we usually find that there are one or two things that we would like to either improve about the design or change about the design or leave off of the design. And based on that, you'll have an opportunity to mass model a new design, which could be one of these existing ones with a very minor change. But your mass model is going to allow you to talk about it. So this week, we're doing a bunch of these things. We're going to get through some portion of all these, and then we're going to go back next week and do them in a little bit more detail. And this week, you're going to kind of do it on your own. And next week, you'll have an opportunity to get input from colleagues. So this is an imprecise version of a design process. There really is no such thing as a cut and dried design process. But there are practices and things that you do that help you along. And of course, if you've already gotten something done, you don't go back and do it again. Well, you don't spend a lot of time on it. You just kind of brush right through it. But we're going to go through it slowly. So that's kind of what's up for this week. So let's take a look and see how it's going to work. Okay, you can see that we're going to do this research, and the resource files are available to you both in Google Drive. Here they are in Google Drive. There's a very cool project to review. This is project documentation. This is a real project, by the way. It is being done as we speak, and we've been working on it for really starting last summer. There's a template for you. There's some samples for you to look at, and of course, here's this guide. And those are also in the instructor drive on the VMware desktop. So you've got some resource files to look at. We're going to do these 4 goals that we're going to work on, and they overlap too a little bit. They're not really cut and dry because it's not a firm process. But I'm going to go through some activities for you, and I will be demonstrating them further, so you'll see videos on each one. But the first thing to do, of course, is to study a proposal document. And then there's a Nearpod activity that it's there for you to think and ponder. Now, those 2 things together, I'm expecting will take you about half an hour or so, maybe a little bit longer. But as you're going through that, I want you to think about doing some specific things that will help you get ready. So this is part of preparation. Okay, and then I'd like you to study the design review template and find out about it so that as you're working through it, you're well prepared to use it. And the main thing is when you do a design review, you have to have objective. That means clearly defined or measurable ways that each criteria, what you're reviewing it against, is it ease of maintenance? Is it cost? Is it durability? Is it ease of assembly? Is it a list of features? Those are all criteria that might be used. And we need to know what those are and how to measure whether something meets that or not. And then you'll go ahead and complete some slides. I've also given you some more information here about accessibility practices that are just good. You can take a look at those, and some stuff about licensing. So that's activity 1. Might take you a few hours. Activity 2 is to actually sort of do a design review of an existing product. So you're going to find a product and you're going to practice doing a design review on it. And if it's perfect as is, well, then we don't have anything else to do. But I'm going to ask you to anyway, just because that's part of our class. But rarely will you find a product that just meets every need possible. So you'll do some design review activities, and then you're going to actually create a model and do a very rough review of your model just so that you can point at some things. There's 3 things. It's a customized design. You're going to choose what you're going to design within limits, and you're going to do a design review. So that's our week 9 assignment guide overview for design 320, customized design number 1, focusing on how to do a design review.